So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? Well, listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Call Me CEO. And this episode is special because this girl, I've been hunting her down for months, trying to get her on the show because she has so many golden nuggets that I know you're going to love from this episode. It's Chelsea Christensen. She is the owner of the Uniformity Apparel, which is a screen printing company that she started back in 2006. She's also a leader in Zyia Active and a coach and mentor to women entrepreneurs all over the world. So Chelsea, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited to have you share your light with us.
I am so happy to be here. One of my very favorite things is talking with other like-minded women, and I know you are one of those. So I am so happy to be here.
Well, first, when we are starting out here, I want to say thank you for being here. I was laughing because I was watching a story that Susie Holman was sharing about one of the first times she met you, and she was like, and I was so nervous to meet Chelsea Christensen because she is just amazing. And I knew that my energy needed to be not in a place of fear because then our energies wouldn't vibe. I needed to show up with that positive energy. And I just thought that speaks volumes because Susie Holman, for those of you who don't know, she does the Susie School. She helps with entrepreneurial women. She runs retreats and things like that. So I just want to give you that accolade just coming out of the gate.
So sweet.
I don't know that you even saw that, but I thought that was pretty cool.
I did not see that. And I work with Susie. So I coach at Susie School retreats, and I've actually never heard that story. But it's really interesting. And I think it's also a good reminder for all of us that we create a difference between us and someone else in our minds. And and we're all just like women, and we all have things to offer, and we all have things to learn from each other. And we can be inspired by people, but like we are all the same. And so I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I love that too. One of my favorite things that Jay Shetty said, and he's not the original author of this, and it's from someone back in the 1940s, but he says, I don't see myself the way I see myself. I see myself the way I think you see me. And so our perception of ourselves is so wrapped up in what we think other people are thinking, which may be completely false. It's just this cycle of whatever we think might be happening. So I love that
that is so good.
Yeah.
I love Jay Shetty, but I've never heard that come out of his mouth. And that's like something to really think about.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of being like true and honest, like seeing yourself as who exactly you want and believe yourself to be, and getting so distracted by what you are thinking other people are observing you or experiencing you like, that could change a lot for people.
I think so,
including myself.
I think so too.
Thank you for sharing that.
You're very welcome. I was actually thinking when I knew I was going to be interviewing you this morning, this song, and I don't know if it's because you danced to a reel. If you guys are following Chelsea on Instagram, she is such a cute dancer, and she dances with her daughters too. It is adorable and really hot. Like, she looks good. And there's a song that's like big energy. I can do and I'm like, that's Chelsea. Like, she has that big energy that like welcomes growth. And I love that so much about you. What do you think is a way that you've been able to develop that over the years, that confidence?
So the confidence, I think, comes from building trust with yourself. And I think that comes all the way back to when I was like little. I was given a lot of opportunity to make decisions for myself, and to also, like, I remember when I wanted to leave a softball team and go play for a different coach, my mom was like, okay, that's great. Here's a phone. Like, I need you to call your coach, and I need you to tell her, thank you so much for everything you've done for me. I've decided to go to this other team, but I appreciate you. And so I did that. And as a 9 or 10-year-old, my coach hung up on me, actually.
Oh,
like, she was so angry that she hung up on me. And I look at that experience, and my mom could have done one or two things and said like, oh shoot, yeah, like that wasn't a very good way that she responded to you. Like, she must be really upset, and like there's nothing we can do about that. Or she could have gotten on the phone and called my coach and said to her, like, how dare you treat my 9-year-old daughter like this? This is exactly why we're not going to play for you, blah, 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 blah. Right. So there was those two options. And my mom did the first one. And she was like, I'm really proud of you for calling her. And I'm sorry that she hung up on you. Like, she must be really upset, but like, we have to do what's right for us. So that was like, I was given a lot of opportunities to like make decisions and then like talk through or, say like, this is how I feel, like, and then make a way through those hard things. I also had a lot of independence naturally, but also like my mom was a working mom and my dad owned his own business. Like, they both owned their own businesses. So they were like, busy. They were available when we needed them, but I was like independent. And so I think growing up like that, kind of, I just was always aware of like how I thought, how I felt, and then just building trust with myself by trying new things and failing and also like experiencing success and accomplishments, and just knowing that either way I was going to be okay and could continue moving forward. So probably that.
I love that. What an awesome example for your mom to set and to let you own that moment and talk through the emotions of it. Because those are things as kids, especially talking to adults, that they have to develop, and communication. And we're seeing it now more than ever with kids so absorbed in their phones that I'm like, oh, our job as parents is so huge, teaching communication and being able to pick up a phone and communicate. And I know that,
and that was the same, that was the same for like with my friends. My mom never got in, like if there was a problem going on with friends, I knew that my mom was never going to talk to the friend or talk to the friend's mom. Like, we could work through it together on my side, but there was never like, she was never coming to my rescue, which might sound like rude, but I don't think that was rude. I think that was actually a way of helping me build trust with myself, that I could work through problems and find resolution.
That is so powerful. I love that so much. I want to hear, because you say that your parents were entrepreneurial. So that was something that you were seeing and you were able to model. And what do you think? And I should back up a little bit, because I introduced you in saying that you started a business in 2006. And how old were you at that time? And tell me about the steps that you took to get there, so that you were like, I'm doing this, and you were ready to go.
It's kind of interesting. So at that point, I got married in 2004. I went to college for like a year and a half, and I was just like, this is not really for me. I was a dance teacher. I was coaching the drill team, and I worked at a sports club. And when I was coaching the drill team, something that I loved so much was design. I loved graphic design. I loved to design like logos and flyers and t-shirts. And so I started designing the shirts for the team that I was coaching, and I had access to wholesale stuff at the club. And so they would let me order it in, and then I would just design what we were going to do and take it to a local print shop, and they would print it for me. So I kind of started like that. And then I started doing that. And then my mom was coaching and teaching at a high school, and my sister owned a dance studio, and they were like, I love what you're doing. Would you design for me? Would you? And then I started, adding a little profit on there for myself and getting paid to be doing this. And so then I got pregnant with my twins, and I was like, I have 2 babies. I'm going to have 2 babies. Like, I cannot wake up at 5 a.m. and go coach a drill team. And I cannot be gone until 9 o'clock at night teaching dance. And I was just like, oh, I can't do all this stuff. So I kind of was like, I'm going to quit everything. And I think that year, me and my husband made like $13,000. When we were like going to have our twins. And it's funny because I never felt poor a day in my life, but now looking back, you're like, how did you survive 2 babies, And so, but so what happened was, when I quit all my jobs, everyone was like, well, do you think you could still make clothes for me? And I was like, well, yeah, absolutely. That would be great. So then what I did was just set up my own wholesale license so that I could get, the product. And then I was just shipping it to my apartment and designing and taking it to the printer. And so it started not really with the intention of like, I'm going to grow this big business, but I always knew I wanted to do something for myself. I always had my hands in things. I've done a million different things, but like, I knew that I could create a job for myself. I was never waiting for someone to like give me a job. So it kind of started accidentally, but then it just continued growing and growing through the years.
Wow. Was there a time in that transition of doing and starting that business up for yourself that you thought, man, like I am a CEO? Like what time was that where you're like, this is a full functioning business?
You want me to tell you the real truth?
Yes. Tell me the truth.
I'll tell you the real truth is when the IRS comes to you. When the IRS comes and you have been paying taxes and you have been keeping invoices and you have been keeping track of records, but what you also have been doing is commingling money. They don't like that.
Wait, say that again, that you're not what, the money?
Commingling your money.
Oh, commingling. Oh, because you hadn't separated them. Got you.
Right.
Okay.
And every day my husband was like, you need to separate all your finances. And I'm like, this is just like a hobby. You know, it was like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, just doing her best. I pay my taxes. Here's all the invoices.
Yeah. Well, you're not keeping secrets. Yeah.
No, really, truly, I wasn't. Yeah. And so, I mean, like, I can't say it was 100% accurate. I was doing all the things by myself. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I had 3 or 4 kids. I think I had 4 kids by this point, and the IRS comes and they're like, prove everything to me, like literally prove everything. Oh. And for the first time, I was like, okay, well, number one, congratulations. The IRS is taking you seriously. Right. Yeah. And then number 2, you're like, I want to die. So that was probably the first time. I had some friends that would be like, a lot of my friends didn't even know that I was like working for a long time. And so it was funny because it was like, it was kind of cool that I was like making pretty good money and no one even knew about it. But then it was also like hard because I was trying to maintain like relationships, like normal, park date relationships, or like doing all the things or going on field trips and all this stuff. And I was trying to balance all this stuff. And it was really hard. And then finally I gave myself permission to get a nanny to come into our house a few days a week. And that felt like, this is a real job. And then eventually when all my kids were in school, I took the business out of my home and got a brick and mortar. It's been like 6 years now. Since we took everything in house and we have a storefront. So that was another step of like, okay, here we are,
So how many years, can you tell me like years of, I started here and then I took it outside of my home, or where does the IRS fit in there?
Okay. So the IRS happened, let's see. So 2006 and then 2000, I would say that the IRS probably came in like 2010, maybe 2010. And then it was 5 years that we opened, like I took it all out of my house to a storefront. Like March 1st was the date that I had signed the contract.
Oh, that's awesome. And then now since then, how many years has that been? It's still operating?
Yeah, it's still, so I have like, I don't even know how many employees I have now, 8 or 9. I have 8 or 9 employees. They're awesome. They keep things running. I work from home on Tuesday. So this worked out great to interview today. This is when I do like my coaching. So it's really awesome. And, the thing that's been really cool about the process is that there's been some really great times. There's been some really, really hard, difficult times. There have been seasons of fulfillment coming like from actually doing the work. And now it feels like fulfillment comes from giving people a job and creating together and having a team of people. And that feels awesome. So it's interesting how it works.
Yeah, I think it's such an interesting journey because I have been coaching women on how to build their own virtual assistant businesses. And we have a whole section of financial foundations of like creating an entity, an EIN number, like what kind of entity do you create? And so much of that, you were figuring it out just by trial and error, and literally until the IRS were knocking at the door. And I think that that's fine too. That if you're chasing something that you love and you're developing and learning and growing in the different stages of business, that's awesome. It doesn't have to be like,
this is also why I coach people.
Yeah, exactly. If you can find a coach, take on a coach.
I remember one day I got an email. It was like in one of those times where I was working 16 hours a day, right when I moved everything out of my house, things got real and it was a lot. And I was at our cabin in Bear Lake and I got an email from Allison Faulkner randomly. I wasn't following her at the time or anything, but I got this, and I think I had listened to maybe a couple of her podcasts, and I got an email and I was like, I don't know what this is or why I would ever even consider going, because it felt like a very social media type, like event. And I was like, I don't belong there. Like, I literally own a screen printing company. This is embarrassing. Right. But I just knew I was supposed to go there. And I went, and honestly, for the first time, I was like, oh, wow. Like, I can create a business like that goes with my life. I have choices. I have to set boundaries. I am responsible for what I give to my business and how my business looks. And for the first time, literally, I was like, oh, no wonder why I'm suffering, because I was in the most unhealthy I have ever been in my entire life, of just like never missing deadlines, meeting everyone's expectations and showing up as fully as I could for everyone else. And the people who weren't demanding my attention were my family. Right. They're not going anywhere. And so all of a sudden I was like suffering because I was like overworking, and I was, but I was like doing a really good job, and I was meeting all the deadlines, and people loved me and they told me I was doing a great job. And so I was like, keep going. But then I like actually wanted to, like not do any of it because it was so much. And I was losing, like, the people who need you will never ask for you. They might act out, but they don't come to you and say like, hey, I actually just really need some quiet time. But the people who have a deadline, they will be in your face and tell you they have a deadline. Right. So that was a big aha moment for me, going to brand school. And then shortly after that, I hired my first coach, and that was huge for me.
Oh, I love that you shared that, because I think that you're spot on, that the people that need us and the ones that we want to invest the most in aren't going to tell us the way
they're not going to demand.
They're not going to, they might tell us, but they won't be banging on the door like, I've paid for this. Where are you? Or where is this? Or where's my shipment or whatever.
And they don't even know how to ask, like, today I need 15 minutes of your time. Or like, they don't know, the people who have deadlines, they know exactly what they need. And the people in your life are just hoping that you like will feel a need that they have. It's really hard. But I've also really tried hard to give my children permission to ask for what they need. I remember, and I've told this story so many times, but like one day I was working at home and Ella was like 5 and she was in the front room, and she said to my twins, I thought mom works from home so she could spend time with her kids. And I was like texting Ryan, like, are you being tortured while you work? Because I am, And so I just sat and I listened. And my twins were like, well, yeah, that's true. And she's like, well, then why is she in the office working? And they're like, well, if she wasn't working at home, we would be at a daycare or a babysitter. So when she works home, then she can still be here. And they're trying to like talk her through it. And she's like, well, I just think she should spend more time with her kids. So that was an opportunity first for me to go like, okay, I wanted to be like, you're rude. First of all, you're rude, right? But then I was like, okay, whatever she's experienced right now is all she knows. So my responsibility as her mom is not to try to talk her out of her experience. It's to connect with her in that experience and say, Ella, I am so sorry that you feel like me working from home doesn't give you any time with me. What do you need from me? And I could explain that to her. Like, she's like, well, do you have to work on Christmas? No, Ella. And she's like, oh, good. Because last year you had to work on Christmas. Right. And I'm like, okay, so I want to be mad. And that's what happens as moms when we feel guilty already, because we're good at carrying our own guilt forever. Right.
Yeah.
Like we don't have to practice that. Like that is just something that comes with us. But when something triggers us, it's really easy to get angry and defensive. Like when she says like, oh, you worked on Christmas, and I could be angry and mad. And then instead I say to myself, like, whatever reason, that is what she's telling herself. Ella, I'm so sorry that you believe that I worked at Christmas last year. I want you to know, number one, that I bought all those presents and I wrapped all those presents and I put them on it. I wanted, but then I was also like, I am so sorry you would think that. Like, that must mean that I was really busy around Christmas. I would never miss Christmas for anything. And I want you to believe that, so we just have to really like use some self-control and not let that triggering get the best of us.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And I think that kids thank goodness they don't come with a filter in the way of trying to sugarcoat something that's real. And I think that as adults, that happens all the time. But if you're hearing a child say something like that and you're able to show up and communicate what that is, that's such a powerful exchange for you as a mother and for her to see that modeled for
Yeah.
herself.
Yep.
Would you say with coaching, and I believe in coaching too. I think it's great. It saves you so much time and money in the long run. What is something that you've learned in coaching that's changed your life?
So being coached or coaching someone else?
Let's do both. Being coached for yourself. Let's start with that. And then coaching others.
Being coached, the reason why being coached is so important to me is because they help you take whatever's going on in your brain and like get it out and help you make it. It gives you a little validation. It gives you a little clarity. You're forced to like sit down and do the work with someone, which that's the thing that we have a hard time giving ourselves permission for, is like sitting down and like dedicating time without getting distracted by the million different things that have a deadline, right? Are that like our goals or our things that we want to do? A lot of times they don't come with a deadline, but when you have a coach sitting there waiting for you, and it gives you the time. It also, when you show up for yourself and you invest in yourself, the outcome is that it means more to you, right? So paying a coach, you're like, this means it matters to me. It's like this energy exchange that is like, this matters to me. This is important to me. And I'm actually going to do something about it. So I love that. I love that they help pull your thoughts out and help you make sense of it, because sometimes we get in our own head and we're like, oh, that's stupid. That might be stupid. Oh, is this stupid? Or sometimes you'll say stuff and say, actually, that is stupid. You're right. This is stupid. Let's move on to the next thing. Yeah. So being able to like have someone who understands and whose brain thinks like it, and it doesn't have to think the same as you, but like gets the idea of how your brain function is just like so powerful. Mm-hmm. So that like hiring a coach is super important. And I honestly think that whatever you want to put out to the world, like make sure that you're also experiencing that. So if you are a coach and you want people to pay you, I think it's important to be paying a coach, like so that you have like your example of like, we can all learn from each other is actually true. So I think that's, and then coaching other women. I think the most powerful thing is watching them develop confidence in themselves. And I think the first step of investing in themselves typically is the huge thing. People are so scared to spend money on something that they don't necessarily know what the outcome is going to be. But when they do decide to like do that exchange of energy, like this is important, this matters to me, watching them even just show up to the call, they're like, okay, this is serious. And I'm going to put my energy and my attention and my focus here. And also like being willing to trust someone, like trust the opinion of me. Like that's so humbling to be able to have like meaningful conversation about people's thoughts and dreams and also like their struggles. Like that, we know that anything that is holding us back in our own personal life is going to hold us back in our business, and like the same is on the other side. If we are struggling in our business, like our personal life will probably be struggling. So being able to work those two things together so that people can create lives that actually feel really good to them is just the best thing in the world.
Yeah. I would say that I love that you talked about the exchange of energy, because I think it is true that when we show up and give of ourselves in that way, that I'm taking this seriously, that's when real change can happen.
Yeah.
And so for you taking on your first coach at brand school, was that something what transformed for you in that way? You had already had a successful business, but you said you weren't you didn't have a good balance of giving yourself time and also the family and creating space for what really mattered to you in that regard. So what was it that changed for you in that exchange?
So brand school was like that was just like a day workshop, but it was like super, super powerful, impactful for me. And I ended up coaching with Allison after that for a couple of years, which was amazing. And then I hired Richie Norton as my first business coach. And I think I paid him like $6,000, and it came with like a course. And then I don't even know, maybe 3 or 4 one-on-one calls. And I think honestly, the biggest impact that it made for me was like believing that I could choose what my life and my business looks like. And the reason why I hired him is because I felt like he was doing that. I felt like he was actually living, not living in his work. right? He was
Yes.
still working. He was still making money. He moved to Hawaii. He takes his coaching calls on the beach. He lives with ease. And he actually just wrote another book about like time management and what that actually means, and not being a slave to the time of our jobs. And it's coming out soon, and I'm excited to read it. But like, I hired him because I was like, I just need someone to like reinforce to me, you know, that I get to choose what my life looks like. And I got to share with him exactly what I wanted my life to look like. And do I think that necessarily he was the magic tool that gave me a big shift? I think he was awesome. And I think he did a great job in helping me guide my thoughts. But I think it was me. I think it was me being willing to step into ownership of what my life looked like. And, you know, one thing that he did say to me that was super helpful in my business, a lot of times we want to fix things, but he said, he's like, I need you to schedule time away from your work. And I was like, okay. At this point, I couldn't even leave for lunch, right? And he's like, I need you to schedule time away from, because if you're always there, then you'll never know what's broken and needs to be fixed. He's like, you will never know. He's like, you want to create, you know, some extra space for you to do this coaching or to do this, these other things, or to just like be able to go to lunch with your friends. But if you don't know what parts are only being taken care of by you, then you'll never know what's broken and what needs to be fixed. And I was like, well, isn't that the truth? So
that
I started
really good advice.
Right. So I started scheduling time away where I was close enough that if it was trouble and they actually needed me, I could go there. But it also gave them ownership and permission to work without, you know, and I don't actually think that I'm a micromanager at all. I definitely encourage them to make decisions and to be proactive. But I think even just me being outside of there gave them permission and a little bit more ownership in their jobs and what they were doing. And also I was like, wow, they can survive without me. This is very sad, but also amazing, right?
Yeah. It's kind of like being a mom and being able to see if your kids can not burn the house down as they get a little older, and you're like, okay, what parts do we still need to work on before you leave the house? So yeah, that's awesome. I'm curious, and this is a personal question because, and it's one that you are and were at the time so massively successful in your screen printing business. What was it about Zyia that made you want to splinter that attention?
Yeah.
Tell me about that, and tell everyone what it is so that they know, because I know, but they won't know.
So Zyia Active is a direct sales activewear brand. So we were the very first of its kind in the network marketing direct sales industry that was selling activewear. And I had actually seen and been very observant. I'm like watcher of all things. I always am paying attention to what's going on. And I had watched these businesses really take off. The doTERRA business, the Young Living business, right? The Senegence business, all of these different businesses, I had watched them really take off and become like out there in the social media world, especially. And I had seen what it had done for a lot of people who wanted to have a business, but never wanted to develop their own product. Or B, were just needed an out. They just needed an out. Or C, they needed like connection. And the way that the direct sales business model is created, it gives you a product to sell. They typically have a really like a mission statement that gives people purpose, and then it surrounds you with people who are doing the same thing as you, to give you that community and connection that a lot of people need. The other thing I saw was an actual business decision of, this is a great way to make a lot of money, right? Like there's potential if you work the business and you are willing to put in the work and you are willing to be in it for more than 6 months to see if it works for you, right? There's a reason why people keep doing it. And it's because there is an opportunity to make great money in this field. And so from a business perspective, I saw this brand new activewear company where everyone was really getting into activewear. I was buying thousands of dollars of Lululemon and sending people to the store. And I was like, I already sell to drill teams and cheer teams and studios clothing. I could put this in with what I'm already doing. I could continue using the coaching that I have with these women that I work with, I could provide them a blueprint of a business, if they didn't want to create their own, and kind of like really just like support and uplift these, other women and create that sense of community and connection. And that's why.
That's cool. I think that I think we have a lot of things in common
because
the way that your brain works, I'm like, yeah. I totally see that. So if you had to pick, and I know that you don't need to, but if you had to pick one today to give up, would it be hard to choose one over the other?
Like between my screen printing business or Zyia, or like or coaching, is that, which are you saying like that?
We'll put coaching on the shelf, because that's like life, that I know that's your life mission purpose. So we're putting that on the shelf, just between the two. Like if you had to pick.
So here is the thing that is really like, there are downsides to the business of direct sales, and it's a good thing and it's a bad thing, is that you are able to build a business with a lot of people, but you are also relying on a lot of people for your business.
Right.
And so that's the hard part with that, because you can have months where people are really working great, and then you'll have months where you're like, did everyone die? Right. And so you're like, so like long term, because I have built something that is 100% mine, and I am in control of what actually, like the products and the process and the customers, and like there is so much more control when you have your own business. That is true. So I would always pick my own business, but I do think that the direct sales network marketing place is a really great avenue for business connection, personal growth, all of those things.
Yeah. I like that direct marketing or direct sales is a lot about personal development and the community. I feel like it provides so much uplifting, like in an uplifting environment for so many people to really tap into. So with coaching, because I know you have a lot of experience with that too, what are some major hangups that you see happen again and again with the people that you're coaching in business, whether it be in the direct sales or in businesses that they own on their own? What are some top tips that you could give people listening today that are very common hangups that people have?
I think a lot of people get stuck before they even start. Like they make up and I've been doing this, like I told you, I've had a podcast microphone on my desk for 2.5 years. Yeah. And whenever I go to start, I think of like, well, what music would I even choose? Like, is that important? I mean, it's necessary, but like we make up all these things to make little roadblocks to prevent us from having to do what we want to do. And we do it to ourselves. And so I guess I would just encourage you to make it like this visual thing of what roadblocks am I purposely putting in front of me to stop me from feeling like I'm ready to go, or I have to go. Someone messaged me the other day and they were like, how do I get out of my comfort zone? And my response was like, I want you to picture a comfort zone, like a little baby play gate, right? The little baby, what are those things called? A pack and play?
Yeah.
Like a pack and play.
Yeah.
A pack and play. Think of your comfort zone like a pack and play. Does it keep the baby safe? Yeah, it does. Do you know where the baby is at all times? Yeah. Will the baby ever meet new people, or learn how to run, or learn how to play, or go get dressed, or change their clothes, or do anything outside of if they are stuck in the baby, pack and go for the rest of their life? No, they won't, but they will probably be safe. Right. And that's like us. We can choose to be in this baby gate, and we might be safe, and no one will maybe ever judge us. And we might not ever experience failure. We might not ever make a bad, business move. We might not like find success, but like we will stop ourselves from experiencing all the things that we actually want, which is growth, which is seeing how strong we are, which is learning something new, or success. Like there is no success in the baby gate, none. It is just purely survival. So it's like, how can we break down the baby gate and just be brave enough to trust that we're going to go? And if it doesn't work out, we know we can take another best step. It's like taking the next best step, even when things don't work out exactly how we picture them, or celebrating when they do.
Yeah, I love that. I like that, the baby gate, because that's
And
something
doesn't
we
that
can
feel
all relate to.
claustrophobic?
Yes.
It
Oh my
feels
gosh.
claustrophobic, but
Yeah.
we pretend and we try to make it pretty by feeling like, well, we're safe. It's like your
Mhm.
comfort zone. Like, why wouldn't you want to be in your comfort zone? Like,
Yeah.
no, it's actually torturing yourself.
Yeah. And I think there is a scale here. If some of you are listening and thinking, I like my baby gate and maybe I'll install a slide in a couple years or whatever. Yeah, that I get that. And some are more comfortable with risk. That's just the way that it is. But I think that taking that next best step of what is that slide that you could install to get you out, or to even take a peek of, what's possible.
Yep.
Can you tell me about a time that you took a step that you thought was the right next step, but you learned a hard lesson? I know you probably have many because you've been in business for many years, but is there one that sticks out?
I mean, I guess, but in the end, I feel like it still ended up being the like the right thing. But I remember when I knew it was finally time for me to like open my print shop, and I knew that I needed to take it out of my house, and I knew that it needed to grow. And so I did that. And almost immediately it was like the worst experience of my entire life. And I just kept thinking to myself, why was this the right thing? Why was this the right thing? Like, nothing about this feels like the right thing. This feels like torture. This feels like I created a monster. This feels like I am 16 hours a day working and I have no options. This feels like the worst thing I could have ever done. But I always knew that it felt like the right decision to make. Right. So then initially I started questioning myself, like, well, am I off? Can I not trust myself? And then I decided, like, no, I can trust myself. So I have no freaking clue why this was the right thing, but I'm going to keep going. And then all of a sudden when I broke, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, I have learned everything. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I want to help other people learn all the things that I've learned. Right. I would have been like, I'm going to teach you because I want to help you avoid pain and conflict in your life and your business. I would have never done that if I never felt that, because up until then it was like, oh, it's, this is kind of hard because I have like a baby's running around my house and I have a nanny and sometimes that's annoying. And I have like, I had a lot going on and I was busy, but I had never actually experienced the level of break or the level of like having to choose and be intentional with my time and my energy and like my business and my life. I'd never experienced to that degree, and that changed everything.
That's a good answer. Do you think that once you got into the space and you allowed yourself like hiring people, is that something that like, what was that transition like for you and how did you allow yourself to get there?
So I had a conversation with my brother-in-law, and of course someone's coming to my door right now and I have no idea who it is. I'm so sorry about that because my dog's going to bark. But I had someone.
Do you want me to pause it? Do you want me to pause
for
it?
1 second?
Okay.
Yeah, pause. I'm sorry. I don't know. My brother-in-law. Yep.
Okay.
So I remember feeling like just like I didn't know what to do next. And so I called my brother-in-law he's an insurance agent. And I was just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what next steps to take in my business. And he just told me that the best thing that he's ever done was hire people who were good at their job and to let them know that they were good at their job and give them responsibility and make them feel like loved and appreciated. And he's like, and that will change everything for you. And I was so scared to like give someone a job because I was afraid, like, what if I can't pay them? Like, then what? Or like, what if I don't have enough work for them to work as many hours as they need to, or, any of those things. And I think it took me maybe like 2 months. And I was like, who else can I hire? I will hire anyone, right? I will hire 1 million people, because all of a sudden I was like, holy cow, like we can produce 7 times as much than when it's me. And I stopped believing that I was the only person who was capable of doing things. I got like, I was so precious, but I should be sending them the invoice and telling them thank you, right? Do you think anyone cares who the invoice comes from? Like, no, but I made it mean something to me. But then I was like, oh, turns out there's people who are actually really good at invoicing and making sure you're getting paid, right? Up until then, I was just hoping that everyone was happy that they got their product. So letting go of the things that you're making ultra precious about your job and letting people do what they're good at and paying them and letting them feel like this responsibility and this, like that they know that they're wanted and needed, and paying them well, and like making it like everyone work together. It's changed everything.
I believe it. I get this question a lot because it comes down to any type of business, but what has been the best way for you to find good employees? Have you had some pain in that regard?
Yeah. And you know, every time I have to like hire someone new, it still makes me like, oh gosh, this is the worst, you know, because you have to you have to train someone to do something over and over again. But what I've realized is the more clear I am at what people's responsibilities are, then when there's turnover, then it's like, okay, I know exactly what I need this person to do. And you also learn to be more upfront with your expectations and your needs with the employees. So you can learn from other people's from your past employees, just kindly use them as an example of things that, you know, like I can't actually wait for you. I can't actually have you waiting for 15 minutes for me to walk over and notice that you're done with something. Being proactive is so important in this job. I need you, when you have 5 minutes left on this job, I need you to let me know that you're ready for the next task, right? So just being really upfront has made the process a little bit easier. And it's also like, I am not good at telling people when they're not doing a good job. I already know that. Like that is a struggle for me. And so I do find myself sometimes having resentment towards people who are maybe not doing things the way that I would expect for them to do. And that is my own problem because I've not made it clear. And so that's something that I have to decide on. If I actually want something, then I have to ask for it. And if it doesn't come after the ask, then you have to make those hard decisions and let people go.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the worst. I'm the worst at that. Absolutely. I'm the worst at that.
Oh, well, it's hard. And I think it, like you said, it's your baby and you're holding on to that and you want it to go well. And it does involve some risk.
Feelings.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I was actually at a lunch with a bunch of girls who have businesses last week. And we were talking about this process of, you know, when things aren't working well. But chances are, I think that if it's not working well for you, it's probably not working well for them either, which is probably why they're not, you know, doing the things that you're asking or being proactive or feel like they're invested, because they're probably not. So I think maybe if we can see it from that perspective of like, if it feels off to you, it's probably feeling off to them. And if it's not feeling off to them, then that's another red flag and a reason why they probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I really appreciate that. Well, as we're closing up, I'm curious how I know that involving your children in your entrepreneurial journey has been huge, that you've involved them in that. And it's been very much a part of your parenting and the way that you've done things. What do you want your children to learn from watching you as their mother build business?
Well, I first want them to know like where I'm spending my time and energy when it's not with them, so that there's not a question of like, is she just like, you know, does she just not care? Is she just not there? I want them to be aware of like what's going on for good and bad. And there have been times where I've been guilty of making business not look fun to them. In fact, they would even say like, no, I don't want to take over your print shop. Like it's so stressful. It's so much work, right? Like there have been times of that, but there's also times of like celebration, and they get really excited when, you know, we print shirts for like awesome people, or like we printed some custom shirts for Olivia Rodrigo. Wow. When for her record label, and my girls were like, you're kidding me. Like, you know, like there's been times of celebration, or they'll see like shirts out there that for big companies that we work for that we print, and they know that they've come through the shop. So like letting them be excited and like feel like excited about success or what I'm doing has been awesome. I love bringing them on Instagram with me so that they feel like they're important and that they're a part of everything that I do. And I just think that it gives them permission to like know that they can do whatever they want to do. They can make up their own job. If they want their own job, they can do that. If they want to work for someone else, they can. Like the possibilities are there, but they are in control of their life. Like they get to make choices. And when you make a choice, then you can, you know, do whatever it takes to make it work.
That's awesome. Well, you're an awesome mom, and I really appreciate watching you building business and also really prioritizing your family. And it's very apparent in everything that you do. So
you're so sweet.
Well,
you're
it's
so
true.
sweet.
You're awesome.
Well, I actually haven't really, one thing that has I've been really, really grateful for is a lot of people that I've either hired at my shop or that I have coached or worked with. Like they have gone through this place where they like feel like they lost themselves and they have to go back through this whole discovery of, and I honestly think that building something all along the time of building babies gave me that, like, I always knew myself along the way. I never got to this point where it's like, oh no, I've got to start over. Like, who am I? Why do I matter? Who am, and I'm not saying that maybe I will get to that point. Maybe I will have an experience like that, but I will say that the people that I have coached who felt like that was not allowed for when they had babies, they go through like this like panic morning of like, who am I? What am I doing? And is it okay for me to do this? And I never experienced like that.
For those of you who can't see the video, I am like shaking my head. Yes, so hard because this is, I agree. I have so many friends who have gotten, if it's like the point where their kids are now in school full time, or when the kids leave the house, that they just have this feeling of dread and loneliness and remorse. And because of course, like they loved being a mother, they loved doing what they did, but it was a sense of the loss of who am I and what do I have to offer the world now? And that makes me so, so sad. And so I think
I do want to tell, I want to tell someone this, and I'm sorry, I just interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
I actually had a woman on my porch one day when someone was really mean to me or something. She brought me a treat on the porch and she was talking, and she was telling me that she was feeling these feelings. And I want to remind anyone who does find themselves in this thought and this feeling is like, it doesn't matter where you serve, but how. And that whatever it is that you made you feel valuable as a mother, you can take that same thing and put it anywhere. You could, it doesn't matter where you're doing it. If it was a connection, if it was the wanting to feel needed, if it was the sharing your thoughts and like bossing people around, like whatever it was, like it is possible for you to take those same gifts that made you an awesome mom and put them anywhere else.
Yep. Amen and amen. I agree with it so fully. And I love that it's a journey that each of us gets to take individually and to give yourself permission, however small or however big that purpose or that passion or that dream is, to explore that and see what that could be for you, because there is a purpose for you.
Yes. Absolutely.
Inside and outside of motherhood. And so I just so appreciate you. Please tell everyone where they can find you and follow more of your goodness online.
Look for me at Chelsea Christensen. So it's just on Instagram, Chelsea Christensen. That's it. And it will lead you to all the things that I do. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.